Get in, nerds. We are playing Hearts of Iron 4. I want to talk a little bit more about officers and what they can do and what you can do
Attention,
with them. So to use as an example,
bougez-vous.
we'll grab Henri Giraud over here and we'll open his leader screen. You're going to get... So first overall, on the left you get, and again, this is stuff I've covered already, but you got your general experience level here. You get your attack, defense, planning, and logistics here. You got your experience bar, portrait over here. You mouse over this, you can see all of his abilities next to each other as sort of grand total what he confers upon the units. His role in the officer corps, which I'm going to cover in a little bit. And then over here you got background and traits. This is a scroll bar here, so more skilled generals will eventually have more stuff here. And at the bottom you got your preferred tactic. Assigning a permanent preferred tactic, I believe you can't do this until they're level 5. I believe this is permanent. I don't think you can change this. But you saw in the tactics what we were looking at before. That we were doing in the previous video. You saw in the tactics. This lets you basically go, I want this general to do this tactic more often. Assigning this increases the chance by 25% for units in the army to do that tactic. 25% for the field generals. Field marshals, 50% for the generals. So if you've got a tactic that you really like, you can assign a general to be more likely to do that. So for example, elastic defense gives... minus 25% movement, reduced attacker damage, and increased defender damage. Blitz, on the other hand, gives 50% extra movement, increased attacker damage, decreased defender damage. So, you know, but these each have a counter, right? You use elastic defense to counter Blitz. And it doesn't look like elastic defense has a counter of its own, so we'll see. You can filter by attack and defense over here. Rolling fire, that's an interesting one. And as you get farther on in the game and in your doctrines, more tactics are going to unlock. I don't tend to assign tactics as much. Also, when you're in the officer corps area, you can assign a preferred tactic for the entire country. I don't necessarily do that much either, but it's definitely a thing you can do. Anyway, let's go back to Giraud over here. I'm just going to take you through what these abilities are and what they do. So first, at the top, we're going to go through the earned traits first, then the general traits, then the field marshal traits, and then we'll briefly do the terrain stuff, and then we'll talk about officer corps roles. So at the top here, you've got Organizer. This increases planning speed by 10%. You get experience for this every time you're using battle plans. This leads into the field marshal traits, logistics wizard, fast planner, and thorough planner. Panzer Leader you can get every time the general is commanding more than 40% armored forces. It gives a 5% increase to armor speed and a 16% increase to the attack of armored divisions. And I believe in the current build of the game, that's going to be proportional to the number of battalions in the division that are armor. So in a typical armor division, that's say 6 battalions of armor and 4 battalions of motorized or mechanized. This 16% attack would scale to 60% of 16. It would scale to about 10. There's your DegenCat math hour times. But the armor speed, you would get that full 5%, but it would only increase the speed of the armor, which kind of makes sense because motorized and mechanized tend to be faster than armor to begin with. So if you're assigning armor to... If you're increasing the speed of armor, that's likely going to increase the speed of the whole division. Cavalry Leader, similarly over here, gives a 12% attack bonus to motorized, mechanized, and cavalry. Both of these give you access to one of these three, to 2 of these 3 general traits here: Panzer Expert, Combined Arms Expert, and Cavalry Expert. Either a Panzer Leader or a Cavalry Leader can get Combined Arms Expert, but only a Panzer Leader can get Panzer Expert, and Cavalry Leader Cavalry Expert. Next we get Engineer. You can accumulate this by crossing rivers and attacking forts. This gives you a 5% attack bonus when crossing a river and a 10% attack bonus when attacking a fort. From this, you can learn Scavenger, which is a fun one that gives you 3% extra equipment capture ratio. This allows the division to recover some equipment by scavenging enemy equipment. On the other hand, Fortress Buster gives you an extra 15% damage when attacking enemy forts, and unlocks a special ability called Siege Artillery that further reduces the enemy's ability to defend against you using forts. Infantry Leader you get while commanding a force that's at least 80% infantry. This gives infantry divisions an extra 13% defense, and I think this applies to Breakthrough as well. It's not just the defense stat, I think it's Breakthrough as well. Once you're done with that, you can get either Infantry Expert or Ambusher. Invader gives you 30% reduced invasion preparation time and 30% increased amphibious invasion speed. This generally lets you get your invasions done faster and more efficiently with a higher chance to achieve surprise, which is essentially necessary for a naval invasion, particularly when you're up against another player. You get experience towards this while doing naval invasions, in particular while fighting, while you have units that are fighting while in the middle of a naval invasion. So if you land unopposed, you get no experience, but if you land on an enemy beach that's defended, you get experience. You notice that most of these have an experience requirement of 1,000. Engineers got 700. Invader only has 100, so you don't actually need to do that much, but you do need to fight significant amounts while doing it. This kind of makes up for the fact that you don't actually do all that much fighting during the naval invasion outside of the first step. So that's kind of why that's built that way. Commando, you get this while divisions that you're commanding are fighting in really hot or really cold temperatures, or while attacking navally or during a paradrop, or over a strait, like say here from Messina to mainland Italy. This gives you a minus 25% reduction to non-combat out-of-supply penalties. I think that's just attrition, really, but I'm not sure. Might be like speed penalties as well and stuff like that. Entrenchment speed, organization, recovery, that kind of thing. This one's pretty alright. Leads to a couple of special forces focused abilities. Next you have Trickster. This guy's already got this. Let's grab someone who doesn't have it and take a look. Huntsinger is definitely not a Trickster. You get this by flanking or being flanked by an enemy, and it gives you 25% reconnaissance bonus. Going back to Giraud over here. This is Improvisation Expert and Guerrilla Fighter, which I'll go through in a second. And last we got Skilled Staffer. You get this while controlling a fully staffed army of 24 divisions or more. When you've got it, it gives you +6 general maximum army size. If you are a Skilled Staffer and a Field Marshal, I think that increases the army size of all the generals that are under you. Or no, that unlocks extra... No, yeah, I think it does. I think it still does. Then Expert Delegator increases the number of generals you can have under you, which is pretty strong. So, next we'll look at the general traits. Off of the Panzer Leader and Cavalry Leader ones, you get access to one of 3 here. Panzer Expert, Combined Arms Expert, and Cavalry Expert. Panzer Expert gives you a 10% increase to attack for armored divisions. So that's going to stack up on top of the 16% you get over here. It also increases the chance of using blitz and encirclement tactics. Those are 2 pretty good tactics. Cavalry Expert over here just gives you a 10% bonus to defense for cavalry. So that doesn't stack onto, but it augments the attack bonuses you get. So this is giving you a more balanced approach. Panzer Leader and Panzer Expert is just going to give you all armor division attack. Or no, this one's defense, not attack. My bad. I see. So you get the attack bonus earlier, you get the defense bonus later. That's interesting. Because normally it's the... well, it's the same for cavalry, but it's the opposite for infantry, where you get the defense first and the attack later. Then finally, Combined Arms Expert gives you 15% attack and defense for motorized and mechanized. You notice that if you stack that up with the extra attack from motorized and mechanized on the Cavalry Leader trait, that's actually a really big bonus altogether. It's 27%. This one still increases your chance of executing blitz and encirclement tactics. In my experience, mechanized is really, really strong in this game. If you've got the productive capacity to run tanks, it's generally good, but you can't go wrong just building a lot of half tracks. Half tracks are really, really good. Mechanized infantry is really strong. I'm so thirsty, friends. I've been talking for like 2 hours. I did like 5 explainers, one after another, playing as France here. So if you got cavalry leader and combined arms expert, you're really in a position to create a very strong combined arms or a very strong motorized mechanized leader, which is pretty solid. From engineer, you get fortress buster. I think I talked about these ones already. I got a little excited about Scavenger and Fortress Buster. But just to review, Fortress Buster gives you an additional 15% attack when attacking forts over and above the 5% you get, the 10% you get over here. And it enables a special ability called Siege Artillery. That's one of those abilities from the ability bar here. Then over here you got Scavenger, which provides equipment capture ratio, which normally you only get from maintenance support battalions. If you've got infantry leader, you can get one of infantry expert or ambusher. Infantry expert gives you an extra 10% attack with infantry, which is pretty alright. Again, attack applies in both attack and defense situations. So if you're an infantry expert, you're going to be crazy powerful defending with infantry. And you're going to be pretty good attacking with them too. Ambusher gives you an additional 5% maximum entrenchment, which can be situationally useful. It also gives you an additional 25% recon bonus while entrenched. And again, the thing recon does, I believe, is it increases your chance of deploying a tactic that counters the enemy tactic. Oh my goodness. That counters the enemy tactic. So if you can combine this with Trickster, you can get a really high reconnaissance build. Particularly on defense, which can be useful. For my money, though, I almost always go with infantry expert. I think the attack is more than made up for by the small chance of increasing your likelihood of countering the enemy tactic. You can only pick one of these two. Once you've got Invader, you can get Amphibious or Naval Liaison, and Naval Liaison, you can ultimately get both. Amphibious is an extra 240 hours of supply grace for Marines only, so once again, that's 10 days in which your Marines can be on enemy territory with no supply without suffering out of supply penalties. I think they still spend supply, but they might not. This is a very strong ability. This is a very strong bonus. It also enables an ability called Naval Assault Plan. I think that might be new as a result of a patch. I've never seen it. It's probably pretty good. Naval Liaison just gives you an extra 25% shore bombardment bonus, which is pretty good as well. Shore bombardment's pretty strong, but it caps out at a pretty small number of ships. It's like 4 ships of the like heavy cruiser, battle cruiser, or battleship tier or above. And you get your maximum shore bombardment. So increasing that maximum is pretty solid. Getting Commando here gives you access to 3 separate abilities, which you can get all of. They're each useful for a certain different situation. Skirmisher allows probing attacks, which is an ability that causes you to attack with lowered attack, but it causes you not to lose your entrenchment, which is really strong. Paratroopers unlocks Gliders, which lets you which you turn that on before you do a paradrop, and it increases the amount of organization you arrive with. This one also gives you an extra 10 days of supply grace, which is the same as it is for the amphibious one. And then Camouflage Expert is 50% damage reduction against CAS, but minus 50% to the bonus in combat you get for having air superiority. If you're doing asymmetric warfare and your enemies have air superiority, this is really, really good. Definitely get it under those situations if you've got a commando leader. Finally, down here, we've got the ones from Trickster. You've got Guerrilla Fighter, which is a 50% increase in entrenchment speed. Again, something that's situationally very useful. I take it generally just as the French, because the French have absolutely ludicrous entrenchment bonuses. And then there's Improv Expert. You need to have at least one terrain trait in order to get Improv Expert. It gives you a 10% movement speed bonus. This is really, really stupid strong. I love this ability. I take it so often, almost every time I get an opportunity to take it. Because just getting Improv... In fact, I'll often get a guy with improv expert and immediately promote him to a field marshal just so that I can get that 5% movement speed bonus stacking up on all my armies in the army group. It's really, really good. It also enables an ability called Makeshift Bridges, which reduces river crossing penalties, apparently. Oh, interesting. I didn't realize this, would actually show you what the ability does if you mouse over it for long enough. Okay, so glider planes, they don't increase org. They increase transport capacity. Interesting. Probing attack is, don't lose entrenchment, but don't fully commit. Naval assault plan, requisition additional landing craft and resources for a naval invasion. Not sure what that does. It's got to provide some kind of bonus. I just don't know what it is. Finally, let's look at the field marshal traits. These top 3 require organizer. Logistics wizard, as I said, was really, really strong. It reduces supply consumption by 15% and gets you an ability called extra supplies. When you hit the extra supplies button, it just completely supplies all your units for a week. It's really, really stupid strong. Again, there's a reason this trait is called logistics wizard and not logistics expert. Because you can conjure supplies out of nowhere by spending command power. Fast Planner and Thorough Planner are mutually exclusive. With Fast Planner, you get 25% extra planning speed. With Thorough Planner, you get 10% max planning. Planning speed, in my experience, is only so useful, which I recognize, given how I play this game, is a little bit ironic for me to say, because I often fire off plans that are not ready to go. But that's how it goes. Unyielding Defender is only available if you have Inflexible Strategist. It gives you a 10% defense bonus for all the units in the army group, and an extra chance of executing a counterattack, which is again a tactic. Aggressive Assaulter requires Brilliant Strategist. It gives you 10% extra breakthrough. So this is, again, defense is defensive defense, and breakthrough is offensive defense. Your ability to mitigate damage while you're attacking. It also gives you increased chance of assault and shock tactics, which are not particularly good, but it's pretty good. Offensive and defensive doctrine are both really strong. You can only pick one, same as Unyielding Defender and Aggressive Assaulter. Offensive doctrine gives you minus 30% organization loss when moving, and also +1 attack. That's +1 to your attack stat, by the way, which is going to translate into 2.5% attack. But that 30% reduction to organization loss when moving is absurdly good. I almost always take it. You lose organization when you take enemy territory, even if there's no enemy unit there. This reduces that. It's very, very good. Defensive Doctrine, on the other hand, increases maximum entrenchment. Again, because I'm playing as the French and doing a basically historical build here, I'm going to be using it for a certain number of my field marshals. Getting 30% extra maximum entrenchment is very, very strong, particularly if you're already at a high entrenchment build like the French have, and like Grand Battle Plan generally supports. Organization First just gives you 2% reinforce rate. It means that when you attack with multiple units over time, they're going to have a higher chance of all piling in. And then Charismatic just gives you 10% division recovery rate. All that's pretty straightforward. I feel like we've covered the basics there. Terrain traits are basically, I think they might all be identical here. Yeah, they're all 5% movement, 10% attack and defense in their respective terrain types, except for Winter Specialists, which is minus 50% winter attrition, and then Winter Expert is 40% increased acclimatization factor. Units acclimatize to extreme temperatures over time, particularly when fighting in them. So this increases the speed at which that happens. And all these lead up to Adaptable, which is... wait, hold on. Yes, sorry. Maybe I missed Adaptable. I think this is one you can buy once you've got at least one terrain trait. It reduces terrain penalties, which is actually really strong. It increases acclimatization gain factor by 10% for both hot and cold. I thought this did something else, and it maybe did in a previous patch. 30% terrain penalty reduction is really, really quite good. I actually am running out of time here, so I'm going to put a pin in it, and in the next one we'll do officer corps roles and explain how they relate to your politics. But for now, I've had fun. I hope you all have had fun, and I will see you on the other side.